Hello, everybody. A huge thank you to Kathy Bryson for having me involved today, and Richard Willingham, our state political reporter who recruited me for today and wields such power in the office that I was permitted to come along for a long lunch. So I appreciate it, Rich. In case you don't know, Rich has been going through a bit of a rough time of late. You may or may not know, the D's didn't make the grand final, which he took really hard. And I will ask the staff, who have been amazing today, please do not under any circumstance put a cheese board anywhere near Richard Willingham. It is very triggering for him right now. Also, I will ask the staff, if you could please alert me if an Essendon CEO is appointed over lunch, because if I don't go right back to the office, I mean straight back, I could miss his or her tenure. So I will have to leave. Okay, that is all the housekeeping for today. It's time to get down to business, and today's special guest speaker is the CEO of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup Local Organising Committee. She was appointed to the role after successfully serving as the Chief Operating Officer for the record-breaking ICC Women's T20 World Cup. Remember that? 86,000 of us at the MCG, our last day and night out for approximately 2 years. So it's good that it was successful. So what a day it was. The T20 World Cup was initially due to take place back in 2020. We won't discuss all the postponements and how we got to here, but it finally gets underway later this month. Please welcome to the stage Michelle Enright.
Thanks, Catherine. Well, it was just as exciting for me coming along today, I must say, when I heard that Catherine was introducing me, because I'm a big fan of Catherine's as well, from watching Offsiders and seeing her there with all her really interesting views. So thank you, Catherine. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for having me today, and also thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules. I know everyone's lives are very hectic this day, so we really appreciate it. And really grateful for the support that we have for our media partners here in helping us get this wonderful global sporting event delivered. So including Foxtel, we've got News Corporation and Nine Entertainment as well. Before I start, I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're gathered here today, the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I also, a huge thanks to everybody in this room for your, the journalists, your passion and hard work. I know there's a lot of talent and dedication that goes into all of those sports stories and keeping all the fans up to date with what's happening on and off the field or the boardrooms or whatever else it might be. And as Catherine said, it's hard to believe, but after 2 years in the making, we are almost here. It's 2 years on from that fantastic Women's World Cup that really captured the hearts, I think, of the sporting nation all around the world. We really aimed high with that match. We had a bold ambition. We wanted the women's to have equal billing with the men's. So the men's were playing a final at the MCG, so why not the women's? And we had the bold ambition to fill it as well. So I don't know if any of you managed to make that final. So I hope you all had some wonderful memories, whether it was seeing Australia lift the trophy at a home World Cup, or whether it was the fact that they did that in front of that packed stadium with 86,174 fans, whether it was the fact that Katy Perry was there as well. That was a first for cricket. And for me, it was things like seeing, there was an Indian family there, and mum and dad had their India shirts on and the kids had their Australian shirts, which kind of speaks to the power of a World Cup as well. And we had Billie Jean King out for that event, and I think she summed it up nicely by saying that that was a moment that wasn't just for women's sport or women and girls, it was in fact for boys and men and the whole world really. So it was a really special moment in time for us. That's for sure. And then since then, one of the things that you always look for in these World Cups is that the participation for girls and women in the sport of cricket has doubled. So that's left a wonderful legacy for the sport as well. As Catherine said, I had the privilege of being the COO for the men's, working with Nick Hockley, who's now, of course, the CEO at Cricket Australia and now the CEO for the men's. We've got an incredible team, some of who are with us today. So I think I've got the easiest job of the lot because they do all the hard work. So it's great being the CEO. And the women's event pretty much was the last kind of big party that we had before the pandemic. I think, unfortunately, there was the Grand Prix after us who were shut down. So, and then we kind of like to think that we've kind of bookended the pandemic in the way, the last event before it struck, and now we're going to be really the biggest global sporting event coming to Australia this year and post the pandemic. We're going to be playing right across the nation. We're in 7 host cities. And there's a lot happening. So it was interesting after the women's and when the pandemic broke, it was quite uncharted waters for all of us, I guess, and we weren't quite sure if what would happen with our event. So I'm not sure, probably don't know, but we carried on planning as if we might host the men's at the end of that year, and some of the team that are with us today worked on that. And thankfully, the ICC, around about July actually, so a lot further on than you might know, decided to postpone the event. And then there was a decision to be made on when they would postpone it to. So shortly after that, we were advised that it would be effectively 2 years out to 2022. So looking back, we were quite thankful that that's when we've got our slot, because I think now everything's up and running, and you would have seen lately that a lot of the COVID measures have been wiped away as well. So that's all good news for us and for fans. So we're 11 days away from the start of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. So what have we got? On October the 16th, we've got the very first match with Sri Lanka playing Namibia down in Kardinia Park in Geelong. I've done a lot of work recently with, and the team has, with the Sri Lankan community. We're really encouraging them, and they're super excited to get down there. So if you haven't already planned to get down to Geelong for some of those opening matches, please do. They'll be amazing. We're going to have the world's best players here. We've got 16 international teams playing 45 matches over 4 action-packed weeks. And by far and away, as I said, the biggest global sporting event. We're in Adelaide, Brisbane, Geelong, Hobart, Melbourne, Perth and Sydney. And the journey actually officially started back here in Melbourne on July the 8th when the trophy started its journey, 100 days out. From then, it's been on quite a journey. It's covered over 12,000 kilometres here in Australia. It's been right across our country, but also visited some of the our neighbours in the Pacific, Fiji, Vanuatu, etc. And you might have seen it even further afield. The ICC's taken it all around the world as well. So along the way, tens of thousands of people have shared in the joy of the trophy. It's been submerged in the Great Barrier Reef up there in Queensland. It's ridden camels on Cable Beach in Broome. It's been flown by helicopter from Rottnest Island in Perth into that great wonder in the west there, Perth Stadium, to be greeted by a whole lot of fans. It's cruised to Tasman aboard the Spirit of Tasmania, and one of my favourites, it stood in the shadows of Uluru. And I was lucky enough to be at that stop, and it was just amazing. We had Scott Borland and Shane Watson with us, and I think some of those Aboriginal kids didn't even know who they were, had never picked up a cricket bat before, and Shane was amazing at, and I learnt this trick as well, at putting the bat down and how you pick it up. And honestly, once they held that bat correctly, they were just away. So it just shows they had so much natural talent, but that was just one of the pretty special things of taking the trophy to communities like that otherwise wouldn't normally get exposed to cricket. Amazingly, it's still in one piece, the trophy, still shiny. It's not here with us today. It was on the news desk in Channel 9 this morning, but Max was down there with that, and it's in Sydney for a while, and then it'll be back here ready to be hoisted by the winning team on the final here on November the 13th. But most importantly, when you have a trophy like that and you take it round, it just puts smiles on a whole lot of people, and it brings people out in the community together for that shared love of cricket. And that's in our view, and that's why a lot of us work on these World Cups, because you're part of something really special that really can bring the country together, and it can inspire the next generation for sure. We've seen that with the women's uptake in cricket, but there's so many stories too of young players who have seen their heroes in these World Cups and have gone on to either excel in the sport or join the sport. So it's a pretty powerful thing to be a part of. So our message is really simple. This is a World Cup for everyone. It will be an unmissable celebration of cricket, but it'll be more than that. All the amazing cultures that come together for the extraordinary diverse fan base that is cricket will really bring the whole event to life. And what the women's event did for female sport and female cricket, we're really hoping in our kind of purpose for the men's event is to really showcase the multicultural diversity of our country and really include that and bring everyone together. And along the way, I've enjoyed listening. We've had, I'm sure a lot of you have been in contact with some of the subcontinent fans, but cricket there, it goes to a whole nother level. It's part of their DNA and in their blood, and these fans are so excited about the world's best players coming. But a lot of them also have shared their stories of being first or second generation migrants to Australia and how cricket has really helped them feel part of our country and part of our community. And I think in the latest census we saw that there's over 51% of us that are either first or second generation born overseas, and I'm one of them being a Kiwi. And so that's, I guess, the power of what sport can do to help people feel connected in their communities. And to help us, I guess, with this message and getting out more deeper than we might otherwise have done, we've employed it's a voluntary role, but we've got a group of T20 champions who are really helping us spread the word about the tournament. And you've probably heard Usman Khawaja's story, arriving in Australia at the age of 4, not being able to speak English, and how cricket really helped him and his family be part of the community here. And of course he's gone on to excel and represent our country, and he's inspiring the next generation of kids and migrant families as well. So there's a lot of really cool stories that come out when you host a World Cup like that. And so we're also wanting to really show, we're called the lucky country, so we want to show the world that we are a really lucky, inclusive country, and people can live here together in harmony, and we welcome people from all walks of life. And that really is, it's our purpose actually, and we think that's the real power of these World Cups, that they bring generations and cultures together. And to help that, we want to make the event really accessible. So our children's prices are $5 for all matches other than the finals. So that's really accessible. We kept the pricing exactly the same from 2020, and the adults matches start from $20. So a family of 4 can come for $50, which we're really proud of. And in front of you, if you can, it's a bit of a pat your head and rub your tummy, but there's a fixture card there if you want to unlock that, because I might just briefly step you through that. So it all starts in Geelong and Hobart. We do have a first round there, and there's 4 teams in each of those cities. And Catherine and I were having a good chat before, because of course we've got down in Hobart, we've got we've got Ireland, Scotland, Zimbabwe and West Indies. So that's Group B down there, and West Indies, you might say, might be the favourite in that pool. But it does all start in Geelong with Group A, and we've got the Asian Cup champions Sri Lanka down there, and they've also got in that pool Namibia, UAE and the Netherlands. So there's still some dark horses in there, but at the moment Sri Lanka's looking very much in form. And then the top 2 from each of those groups will go through and join the 8 that have already qualified for the Super 12. And Australia, of course, defending champions, will be trying for back-to-back World Cup victories. And Aaron Finch's men, you'll see at the very top of that chart, they've drawn a couple of old rivals with New Zealand and England in their pool, and there's also Afghanistan in there as well. And Australia actually opens the Super 12 component of the tournament with a rematch of the 2021 T20 World Cup final against New Zealand in Sydney, and that'll be a packed house there on October 22. And then Australia's actually got quite a kind of compact little schedule there. They've got 3 matches in a 7-day period. So after they've played that first match here in Sydney, they're off to Perth, where they'll play the winner of Group A. So based on rankings, that could quite possibly be Sri Lanka, which will be a great clash there over at that mighty Perth Stadium. And then next up, they've got England, which will be the first time the Australian team has played in front of the Shane Warne stand here at the mighty MCG. So I'm not sure there'll be a dry eye in the house that night. That will certainly be a pretty emotionally charged Friday night for us on October the 28th. Then they head off to Brisbane, where they play the Group B runner-up, who will obviously be trying to cause some upset at that stage of the event. And then the final match that the Aussies have will be in Adelaide against the Adelaide Strikers' favourite Rashid Khan, who will be there in his Team Afghanistan colours. So, of course, it's not just Australia we're looking forward to watching, but the way the rankings have worked in the pools, we've got one of the great matchups in cricket that you've probably heard all about, India-Pakistan, here at the MCG on October 23. And when we first put tickets out on sale to the public, they were snapped up, I think, was it 10 minutes, team, or even less? And then I think it was 5 minutes actually for the public sale. Then we released some standing room only just a couple of weeks ago, and that went in 10 minutes. So if you don't follow cricket closely, India and Pakistan don't normally play in a bilateral series because of the political situation between the two countries. So when they get to meet at a World Cup like this, the fans just can't wait to come along and watch. So if you haven't got your tickets, I'm sorry, but you'll be able to catch the action on Fox or Nine are also broadcasting that match. But it'll be just, you'll probably hear it from wherever you live, that's for sure. It's one of the world's great games. And of course, many other amazing matchups along the way. So we're really encouraging everybody to get out, take the family. It's a real family event, T20. Come along and see some of the other matches here in Melbourne, or even invite your friends from interstate, or go and visit one of the other lovely cities in Australia. We're doing a lot of travel still domestically at the moment, so there's no better time to get out and follow your favourite team around. And I know on my travels, I've been talking to a lot of fans, and there's fans from, especially for the India-Pakistan match, fans coming from all around Australia to just, even if they haven't got tickets, watch that match from the fan zone or somewhere else. So there's a lot of Indian fans following their team around, Pakistan fans, so there's going to be a lot of travelling as well. And I think the beauty of this event with these world's greatest cricketers, I'm not sure everyone's really quite aware of the treat that they're in for. We've got the top 10 ranked batters and bowlers coming, so it really is the world's best, which is very exciting. And more importantly, actually, the players, very important, but also the fans. So I don't know if you've heard of Swami Army and Barmy Army and there's Stani Army, and it's not a military invasion, it is just these fan groups, and we work really closely with the venues and making sure that they can bring their instruments in, and we put the supporters in bays together. So if you haven't been to one of these World Cup cricket matches, what you'll see is these fans, and there'll be so much colour and noise and movement. I mean, some of them can dance a whole match. I don't know how they do that, but they're just amazing. So the experience, you might have, I wasn't fortunate enough to be at the AFL final the other day, but one of these multicultural cricket matches will take noise to a whole nother level. So it's something, if you haven't seen it before, it's a real treat. And our host cities have done an amazing job as well. So it's not just the usual city dressing and airports, but the fan zones. They've all done a great job with that, and they'll really bring the city to life as well. So if you want to get along to the fan zone before a match, there'll be DJs, and we're doing a lot to cater for the visiting teams, both in venue and in the fan zone. So there'll be all sorts of different food and different cultural performances. So there'll be a lot going on around the cricket as well. So I think it's been a tough few years for all of us. Everybody's out now trying to get life back to normal. So we're really saying, the events here, gather up your family, get out and catch some of this world-class cricket action in your own backyard. We do really want everybody to be a part of it because it's going to be a very special event. So I guess in the room, whether you're a reporter and you've covered sport or cricket, or whether you've never written a word of in a sports column ever, this event is really something special, and one thing I know for sure, that all our cities will come alive with this World Cup fever. It'll sweep you up and it will leave you with amazing memories. So I hope you all enjoy it as much as we do putting it on. Thank you. That's all I've got. Thanks, Catherine. Thank you.
Okay, before we open it up to the floor, Michelle, and I can't imagine what's going to come your way then, I want to ask you about the home World Cup factor, because I think we can all agree it would be so amazing for Australia to make the final, just like the women did and achieved the ultimate. What I want to know is there a contingency plan if they don't? And before the women's final, did you have nightmares about the English team dancing with Katy Perry? Because I think we did at work.
Absolutely. Well, I think the men have got a real challenge on their hands because, of course, the women have won the title on home soil. So there's they've got a hard act to follow there. I must say we did have a bit of luck on our side, Catherine, with that women's final. We got the 86,174 fans there, but of course we had Australia and India in the house, so that was pretty much our dream final. So we were pretty pleased with that. The men are a bit closer. I mean, certainly the Aussies will want their home team to win, home soil, and I don't profess to be the cricket expert at all, but I've heard a lot of experts talking recently saying that the home ground is an advantage. But, you know, when you put on a World Cup like this, the two teams that make the final will be outstanding in any case, so it's going to be a great spectacle. But yes, we were holding our nerve for a long time there, weren't we? Yeah.
You said you didn't get to go to the grand final. I was lucky enough to be working there, so I'm all across entertainment, yes. Okay? Do we know what the entertainment will be for the final? I mean, we all know you booked Katy Perry, as you said, for the women's. I mean, the AFL couldn't convince Kylie Minogue. I think it may have been some financial issues. Can you guys do it? Do we know yet?
Well, actually, so Katie we loved having Katy Perry. She was amazing. I'm not sure if anyone knows. She really spoke to the empowering of women, but when she was here, she went out to Bright as well after the bushfires. So she was heavily pregnant at the time. She was amazing. So we loved having her, and the girls loved being up on stage with her at the end. For the men's, so that really spoke to our purpose here, was kind of really lifting the women's game and empowering women in sport and that sort of thing. And for the men's, it's, as I said, it's about kind of bringing generations and cultures together. So I can't give it away yet because we're not quite ready to announce, but we'll have definitely a local flavour, and we really want to celebrate all of the participating teams. So it'll be a bit more of a closing celebration. It won't be an A-list rock star this time.
Okay, we won't push you on it. One more before we go to the floor. You mentioned the India-Pakistan game that sold out in minutes. I spoke to one of my colleagues. She's a producer on News Breakfast, Tavleen. She said the Indian community are so focused on this fixture, they actually moved some of their traditional festivities away from October because they accept that October is all about cricket. Yeah. Were you even shocked by the level of interest and how quickly it sold out?
Well, I've never been to an India-Pakistan game, and I've certainly never been to cricket in India, but I guess we weren't surprised because we know the level of excitement in those fans and the fact that the two teams don't get to play often. But you're right, the speed with which that match sold out was just phenomenal. And we did, of course, the loyal fans that bought for the tournament in 2020 before it was postponed, they had first rights to purchase for the postponed event. So we were really pleased to reward them. So they obviously took some, we had some pre-sale and some of the tickets went to those loyal fans, and then they were just snapped up. But you're right, and as I said before, those fans they're travelling all around the country, and we were when we were doing the fixture as well, we were mindful. We did speak to some members of the Indian community to make sure that particularly that game was culturally appropriate to be, because it's of course around Diwali, so just really making sure that we worked with the community as well. So.
And am I right in saying there's a huge waiting list for those who can't use their tickets? Yeah. And also, how many tickets are there? Because I believe there's extra standing rooms. So does that mean you have more people in there than the AFL Grand Final?
So the thing with cricket is you lose a few seats with the sight screen, etc. So I think we get up to 93 or so, including the standing room. And you're right, the wait list got up to 30 or 40,000 there at one stage. And we do have the resale site up and running now. If there are people that, if they've got one of those tickets, you probably don't even need to put it on the site, because I'm sure you've got someone who'll want to snap it up.
Well, we're going to open up to the floor, and we might start with you, Richard Willingham, who doesn't have a ticket to that match, once won, and is not on the waiting list of 30 or 40,000 people, so he can watch it on Foxtel, I believe you said.
My first question is, Michelle, can I have a ticket to that India-Pakistan game? Thanks for talking to us today. Just on the issue of crowds, are you pleased with ticket sales for other games? I noticed the Australia-England game in Melbourne isn't sold out like the India-Pakistan game is. So are you confident that you'll get big crowds that aren't that sort of big headline game?
Yes, we are. And I guess the unusual thing with this tournament is it's the first time a World Cup's been held at the start of summer. So we had a bit of a challenge, I guess, over winter, where the focus in Australia is clearly on the footy season. There's been over 550,000 tickets snapped up so far. So we're really pleased with that, and there's some blockbusters that have, sold earlier, like India, Pakistan, but we're really expecting now more of the Aussie fans will kick in as well. So we're really, especially once the tournament gets off, I think sometimes people don't realise how big this is and how exciting it is until you see a couple of those first matches. So we're really confident that the standard of play and just the excitement around it, we'll get some really great crowds. We're obviously aiming to, we've filled the multi-cauldron here for the India-Pakistan, and we'd like to do the same obviously for that Australia-England match and the final. And there's another India match here as well that's selling really strongly, so that could come close as well. And then round the country, actually, sorry to finish your question, Richard, there's some great matches, and some will be more popular than others, but we're pretty pleased.
So you're not getting a ticket, Rich. Sorry about that.
I didn't answer that part, sorry. Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question? We have a roaming mic, so even down the back, we'll come up the front here first.
Thanks, Kate. Michelle, if you do get your dream final of, say, Australia and India, can you give the audience some sort of sense of what do you think the global broadcast numbers will be?
The numbers are quite staggering, actually. From the 21 event, the total views across broadcast and digital were something like 4.3 billion, and that was 20% up on the previous T20, so expecting, I guess, another uplift. So it's phenomenal. And so for all of our host cities, all the host city governments have put significant funding into the event as well, so they'll get great exposure. Their brand is part of the event as well, so that's and it's really going to showcase Australia to the world, say loud and clear that we're open, we're up and running again, remind everybody, Melbourne in particular, what great sporting events we put on, and what a great job we do of these international global events.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was amazing to hear all your strategies and what you're thinking about for this event. I'm really interested, obviously you've gone through all these delays and having to wait to actually put it on. Was there anything you noticed or your team noticed during the lockdowns and everyone being at home and looking at what fans are doing on social media and consuming sport in their homes, of what they wanted from a broadcast and what they wanted from fan engagement that maybe they were missing that you can capitalise on now by having this event?
Well, I think the main thing there would be just the joy of live sport again. So I think while it was the only option to stay home and watch on your couch, which was very comfortable and worked well, and there was great broadcast ratings obviously at the time, I think now once the world's opened up again and people have got out to live sport again, that it's reminded them how much more it is than just watching the match. So when the T20 World Cup comes to town, the stadium looks amazing with the signage. Then you add in the sports press, which is amazing music tailored to the competing teams. You've got all the fans that I just talked about, so the whole stadium's alive before you even bring in the cricket. And I think you just don't capture that solely through the TV. I mean, if you can't get to the match, obviously that's the amazing way to view it, but there's something, I guess, about being live as well. But we've got a really savvy digital team. Some of them are here today, so it's really reminding the fans about that experience and trying to reach as many as possible. And our vision for this event, we've called it unmissable wherever you are, recognising that lots of people won't get to the matches. So it is the old saying, bums, thumbs and eyeballs. So there's a big focus on who you can get to come into the venue, but obviously it's a global sport, and ICC have a very strong lens as well on making sure that we can connect with as many fans globally that can't get here. So in which case the digital strategy is really important, and the broadcast. And actually one thing we will be introducing for the final and a couple of the other matches here in MCG is some mixed reality pieces. So there'll be some new experiences for the fans, and they're amazing in stadia, but actually on broadcast they look phenomenal. So it's I guess the 2 years has given us a chance to make this event even better, and technology has moved on and digital capability as well. So it's all very exciting, really.
Can I ask what that will look like? Because we hear about this new technology, a reality experience. What is that, Michelle? What should we expect?
Well, without giving it all away, it's basically something larger than life that comes into the stadium and rumbles and makes lots of noise, and kind of in the theme of our I'm not sure if anyone's seen our creative, which we've got larger than life cricketers as the heroes of the sport, kind of synonymous with the grand scale of the event. So it's something that captures your imagination through the sheer size and scale and noise and the sound effects that go with it. So it's
wow, and it's a digital, this is someone who struggles with Instagram and Twitter. I'm trying to imagine what this is.
Yeah.
So it's a digital formation in the stadium.
Yeah.
Will this be a first at the MCG, what we see?
I think so. I'm looking to my team to see. Yeah, first at the MCG. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the figures are astronomical, what you're talking about globally. It's a huge opportunity, but how does your team even, take that on board and service such a large global community? Because the digital space moves so quickly. I mean, it's at the point where Rich Willingham will need a TikTok over the election. That's how fast we're moving.
Yeah.
How do you possibly prepare for that opportunity?
Well, I'm very lucky. I've got some super talented people in my team. Some of them are here today. We've got Hutch there on the end of the table who leads the digital side of things, but we work really closely with the ICC. And there's a very talented chap there called Finn Bradshaw who actually came from Cricket Australia, and he's heading up the digital strategy for ICC and doing a fantastic job. They're quite innovative around, using their app, and they're partnered with Meta, who of course are Facebook and Instagram, so not so much TikTok, but they've got an amazing arrangement with them, so they're really exploring and using that technology to its full. You're right, I don't pretend to understand how we've got, these guys are doing reels, and there's lots of talented, interesting actually looking at the marketing team from the 2020 event in 21. We've definitely got more focus on the digital side. Teresa, would that be right? Teresa in the lovely pink dresses is the GM of marketing and digital, so it's really in that short space of time that area's moved, and it's a great way obviously to reach so many more people. Yeah.
That is a massive job, Teresa. And we have a question at the back.
Hi there, you mentioned it was a family-focused event, and the T20, I'm taking my 70-plus mum and my 11-year-old child. How is the event going to service my purist cricket mother and my kid with a very short attention span, 11-year-old? What are you doing to make sure you're helping everybody? Because we've all got different needs.
Yes.
They're all coming and they all love cricket.
Yeah.
But the things that my son loves, my mum's not so keen on, and vice versa. So how are you juggling that?
Well, hopefully there's something for everyone there. So it'll start with the fan zone outside, which will have lots of cricket activities for your son. And the same in venue. There'll be some, T20 cricket's quite exciting and entertaining. There's the wickets light up, all that sort of stuff. I don't know if your son gets distracted by that. But there'll also be roving performers, and I'm not sure if he has a phone at that age, but you might. But there'll be an app with a few, we'll be doing some interactive things like vote for your favourite song and what song do you want the team to come out at halftime. So there'll be little things like that. We're really trying with the food to get a good array and target, the different nationalities that are competing, which is, there's still hot chips and all of that stuff that Australians love. There'll just be a little bit of different stuff, but I think the main thing, your mum will probably, the cricket will satisfy her, and for your son it'll be the fans again. So there'll always be something going on. There'll be a group over here playing a band of something and someone doing a bit of a dancing over there. So and just the banter of the fans in the stadium will hopefully keep him well amused.
And we have another question on this side.
Thanks, Michelle. Patrick from the Press Club. In love with all of the fan engagement, and well done on it, and thanks for your time today. Couldn't let you go, though, without perhaps asking you a question on behalf of the cricket purists. The nation v nation, the international cricket, it's somewhat at threat by franchises popping up around the world, and extraordinary amounts of money being offered for people to consider twice whether they want to play for their nation or play for a franchise. What are your organisation, your colleagues back at your organisation in UAE doing to protect this celebration of nation v nation World Cups and international cricket to ensure that we can look forward to it in the future?
Well, the ICC have a very rigorous process, I guess, and they try and work with all of the member nations, and they've put out their schedules for the all of the ICC hosted events, I guess the World Cup. So there's a real commitment to them. It's called the Future Tours program. So they're all kind of locked and loaded for the next 6 years or so, I think it is. So there's a real... the interesting thing about the way the ICC works is the member nations are all part of the board, or the top the full members are part of that board, so they're a part of that decision making as well. So I'm not privy to those discussions, but the sense that I get is that it's kind of in everyone's benefits to still hero the World Cups and have the world's best cricketers playing at these events, and the countries then working collaboratively together to fit in the bilaterals and these leagues. But I'm not going to profess to be an expert in that, but it's very much, I know they're very much aware of it, and the way the structure of the ICC is, I think the member nations are all a part of that, so they all have a shared, I guess, love of cricket and obligation to see the game keep developing for the whole world.
Do we have any more questions from the floor? Just while you have a think, I want to ask you about how the venues were chosen, and also the complexities around doing that during lockdown, because you talk about reminding the world that Melbourne is open. I've really noticed when I've been back home a kind of a change in perception of Melbourne. When you say you're from here, people go, "Are you okay? Are you allowed out of your house?" And you're like, "It's fine, we're open, we're even letting flights come in." When you were planning that the venues, the tournament. Was there any pushback from other countries? Did it make it more complex?
Well, the venues, when you host a major event like this, you normally run what's called a venue selection process, and that was done way back in kind of 2017, 2018. And those same venues, when we had to postpone, we quickly obviously got in contact with all the host cities and the venues, and everyone was delighted to still put their names forward. So we didn't have to revisit that at all. Sorry, what was the...
I was wondering if there was ever a conversation when you were making sure you kept the tournament. Was there ever a time you worried during the postponements? I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be an administrator during that time.
Well, definitely we did. And I think when it started, I'm not sure that we all thought it would go on for so long. So there was we were a sense of, well, we'll just keep planning and keep moving on. And then as time went on, it was getting obviously more and more obvious that, and it actually took a while for that decision to postpone. It wasn't until July. So then we were starting to think, oh my goodness, if we're having to put this thing on, what does it look like? And you're right, it's getting the visiting teams in. And actually the whole biosecurity has been the thing that's moved the most, I think. So starting off, were we going to have to quarantine teams? So we did a lot of planning around that, a lot of scenario planning around that. And then, of course, as you say, Australia was well behind really the rest of the world in terms of how we viewed the pandemic and, keeping people in their homes and masks. My daughter's actually living in London, so they'd moved on, and she's kind of like, Mum, what are you doing over there? And so, there was that view of even, asking the players to have to quarantine for 2 weeks or a week that then dropped down to, but thankfully all of that's gone now. But it was definitely quite scary for us as organisers. And then, of course, if you have to host without crowds, that's a big revenue source that you don't have as well. So that's pretty scary too. But here we are, and it's all worked out.
Well and truly back to normal. Do we have any last questions? None on ticketing, I'm hoping. No one. There'll be a queue for tickets after this, Michelle. I'm going to finish by asking you, now that it's here, it's about to happen, what are you most looking forward to, and who is going to win the tournament? Because you've got to say that today.
Okay, well, I always think these major events are about two main groups. It's the fans and the players. So I'm most looking forward to a couple of things. One is the players saying, my goodness, that was the best T20 World Cup I've ever played in, because we've given them such, slick transport, food, the venues work, and they can come and do what they do best, which is play amazing cricket and entertain us. So I'm really looking forward to the players being able to play at their best. And part of that is still keeping them safe, although we don't have all these COVID restrictions. We're putting a few measures in place. And then I'm most looking forward to fans just coming and loving the experience. There's just, I don't know, nothing. This is my 5th major sporting event, and I'm totally addicted to them because you see the pleasure that you can bring people and all the benefits that flow from that, whether that's like that lady's 11-year-old son who might see somebody that inspires her, or your mum, there you are as a family coming out and doing something together around something that's pretty amazing, and it's going to entertain you, it's going to leave you with memories, and I just think that's pretty cool. Who's going to win? Well, I'm a Kiwi, I think I said before, but I'm not sure the Kiwis are in their best form at the moment. So let's hope Australia go back to back and win their title.
Good answer. You did bring up the fact you're a Kiwi, and now I have to go there. Michelle, if you would just help out the Irish team a little bit, as much as you can. I won't mention the fact that Ireland have beaten the All Blacks a number of times in recent years, so I think we've got a deal. Surely you can help them a little bit.
I met I was in Hobart last Friday. The Irish fans down there are just mad keen. They can't wait for this event to come. And we don't mind if you beat us at a non-World Cup match, Catherine, so we'll let you have that one.
That hurt, but it was a great takedown by a CEO. I deserved it. Michelle, thank you so much for today. We really appreciate it, and we cannot wait to go to this event and to watch this event. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.